It's with great pleasure that I welcome back Dr. Sean Patel, who's the CEO and founder of Prep Expert, the title sponsor of the College Admissions Process podcast. Sean, you have a special message for the listeners?
Hey, John, I just wanted to mention for all the parents and students who are listening to this great podcast, we have a really special offer only for listeners of the College Admissions Process podcast for Prep Expert. So if your student is going to be taking an online SAT, ACT, PSAT course anytime soon, or is looking for one-on-one tutoring with top 1% tutors, head over to prepexpert.com. We offer live online courses for every college admissions exam. On top of that, we have the best score guarantees, best curriculum, and best instructors in the test prep industry. And just for listeners of the College Admissions Process podcast, you can get 20% off any online SAT or PSAT or ACT course, as well as one-on-one tutoring. So you can get 20% off. Just make sure you use the promo code College Talk. That's one word, College Talk, and you'll get 20% off just for listeners of the College Admissions Process podcast. And I hope you guys can use that to your advantage, save a bunch of money at prepexpert.com.
Thank you so much, Sean. And to everyone out there, once again, that promo code is College Talk. That's one word, College Talk. Thank you all, and best wishes. Welcome to The Cap, where we are here to speak with college reps and other professionals in the field of college admissions to help answer all your questions and guide you through every step of the process. So if you're serious about college admissions, you've come to the right place. Are you ready? Let's talk about it. And now, here's your host, Dr. John Durante. Welcome to The Cap, the College Admissions Process podcast. I am your host, John Durante, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you today Brie Mercedes, who's an admissions officer at Howard University. Brie, it is so great to have you here today. Thank you for joining us. How you doing?
I'm doing so well. Thank you for having me. It's so exciting to be here.
Well, we're equally as excited to have you. This is the second time that I'm finally having an HBCU on the podcast. So thank you, Brie, for being here. And for listeners who may be discovering Howard for the first time, what makes Howard University distinctive, not only within the HBCU community, but within higher education as a whole? And what types of students tend to thrive at Howard?
Yeah, so first, it's important for everyone to know what an HBCU is. An HBCU means a historically Black college or university, and that we were founded to provide access to education for minority groups who didn't have it during the time period in which we were founded. And looking forward, we've grown and continued to advance the agenda of educational opportunity and excellence for our people across generations. And what makes Howard specifically distinctive, even among this community and our legacy, is that we really sit at a unique intersection. We're the only HBCU to have received the Carnegie R1 certification, which is a very coveted accolade among our fellow institutions. We are ranked the number one HBCU in the country by Forbes for the second year in a row. And we're also ranked the number one HBCU by LinkedIn for alumni career outcomes. We are only 4 miles from Capitol Hill, and we have so many innovative programs and opportunities that are available. We're located in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and Howard students have the access to have so many notable internships and opportunities with global corporations and things like that, that most students have to travel over the summer to D.C. just to get a glimpse of. In our alumni network, we have so many notable alum. Our forever VP, Ms. Kamala Harris. We have Chadwick Boseman, Thurgood Marshall, Elijah Cummings, Felicia Rashad, among many others. So really, students who thrive at Howard are the ones who are mission-driven, who are community-minded, and really just excited to be in an environment where excellence and Blackness are not in interference with each other, but they really enforce each other. And that's what Howard is all about.
Well, thank you so much for the overview, Bree. You're located in awesome DC, Carnegie R1 accolades, number one HBCU from Forbes and LinkedIn, not to mention all the famous alum that you mentioned. And I know that there are so many others. So many students, Bree, and families are becoming more interested in HBCUs, but some might not fully understand the depth of the experience. How would you describe the academic, cultural, and personal growth opportunities that make an HBCU education so unique?
I think that people don't fully anticipate until they get here is the shift in how you carry yourself. So many of our students, especially those who grew up in less diverse environments, spent their entire K through 12 experience feeling like they had to succeed despite their identity, like their race was something of a variable that they needed to manage or overcome in order to be taken seriously. But at Howard, that flips completely, and your identity isn't something that you need to work around, but it's something that empowers you and strengthens you. You walk onto our campus and you're surrounded by people who look like you, who are brilliant, who are ambitious, and are doing incredible things. And that really becomes your normal. And I think that shift is so transformative in a way that's hard to put into words until you've actually lived it. And then academically, Howard is a full research university with professional schools in law, medicine, dentistry, pharmacy, social work, business, engineering, and the arts all in one campus. And our faculty, they're leading scholars in their fields who are really invested in the development of Black intellectuals because that's the mission. And then culturally, we have things like homecoming, Founders Library on the yard, the Divine Nine and Greek life, things like that. And they become a part of who you are. And personally, students leave Howard with a sense of self and purpose and community that stays with them for the rest of their lives. I'm a Howard alum myself, class of 2024, and I can tell you firsthand, it really changes you in the best possible way, and it transforms you into the type of person you always dreamed you could be.
Well, we appreciate the overview. And as you put it earlier, you definitely lived it as you are an alum yourself. Like you said, graduated in 2024. And now Howard has the great honor of having you represent them in their admissions office. And we here on the podcast. So when Howard is reviewing applications, Bree, and building each incoming class, what qualities, characteristics, or experiences are you hoping to see in students beyond just grades and test scores?
So we really are focused on building a class, not just on filling seats. And that's why we adopt our holistic framework for our application review. But in terms of things that stand out, purpose is a really big one. Howard students tend to know why they're here and not just, oh, I want to become a doctor, but the deeper why that's underneath that. The students who can articulate their purpose in a way that feels specific and personal to them, that is what really comes through on the application. And then, of course, community investment matters a lot too. Our motto at Howard is excellence in truth and service, and we really love to demonstrate that through service in the community. So, what have you done for the people around you? And that doesn't have to be in a formal program or a title. It can be the student who organized something in their neighborhood or who consistently showed up for their community over time or who found a way to give back with whatever they had access to. And then I'd say intellectual curiosity. We really want students who are excited to learn and who push beyond what was just assigned. We want students who ask hard questions, who make connections across a variety of areas. And that's really the kind of engagement that we want to see and that will contribute to everyone around you at Howard.
Well, I appreciate you talking about the engagement and particularly what you said at the beginning, which is something that comes through is a student's purpose. Why do they want to come to Howard? So, students, when you're applying to Howard, make sure your purpose, your why shines through. Now, on packaging the overall application just a little bit more, Bree, when reviewing a student's transcript, what stands out most to your admissions team beyond just the GPA? And how do you evaluate course rigor, academic growth, and the context of each student's high school experience?
That's a really important question. So, when we're reviewing your transcripts, we are looking at your unweighted GPA because we want to understand what a student actually learned without any inflation built in that can vary across schools and regions. But we're never looking at your GPA in a vacuum. It's always about the trajectory and the context together. So, your course rigor is very significant. A student who challenged themselves with AP, IB, or dual enrollment courses, especially in areas aligned with what they want to study, tells us something meaningful about how they'll engage at Howard in the future. But we're also very aware that not every school offers the same opportunities. So, a student who maxed out what was available to them at their specific high school tells us just as much as someone who had every advantage and still used it well. And then we also pay close attention to your senior year. Some students coast once the applications go out and they get that senioritis, but we do notice things like that. And staying engaged through the finish line is really a strong predictor of how you will show up in college. And if there's a significant drop in performance senior year, that is something that we would want to follow up on.
Well, we appreciate that. I love how you talked about the importance of senior year. So students keep on moving forward, building those ramps, not only in freshman, sophomore, and junior year, but continue into senior year. You also talked about the fact that you're looking at an unweighted GPA, Bree. I was just curious at Howard, do you actually recalculate the GPA or are you just looking at scores provided from the actual transcript?
We will recalculate a GPA. So, not all schools will include both the unweighted and the weighted GPA. So, to ensure fairness across all schools, all regions, we have our own process of recalculation.
Understood. And when you recalculate, are you recalculating all of the courses or are you just looking at the major subjects?
We'll recalculate all the courses.
All the courses, that's awesome. And Bree, students often worry that one challenging course, one lower grade, or one difficult semester defines them. How does Howard view academic growth, resilience, and improvement over time?
So we know that one grade does not define a student. And I really want families to hear that clearly because what we're looking for is pattern and context. If a student had a genuinely difficult semester and then came back stronger afterwards, that upward trajectory is something that means something to us. It tells a story about self awareness and the ability to adapt. And those are the exact qualities that translate well to college and higher education. And then context also matters a lot. A C during a semester when there was a lot going on in a student's life is a very different situation than a C with no surrounding circumstances. And that's actually what the additional information section is for in the Common App. That's where you can give a brief description about any important circumstances that should be considered when reviewing your application.
Well, we appreciate you mentioning the additional information section in particular, which so many students don't use. And to your point, absolutely, students, if there's something missing in your overall application, you could use that section to provide that context. Now, you mentioned earlier, Bree, how Howard attracts students who often have a strong sense of purpose and connection to their goals, communities, and aspirations. What makes a personal statement or supplemental response feel authentic and memorable to your admissions team?
The essays that really stay with our readers, I'd say, are the ones that feel genuine and authentic. We want to feel that you really sat down and actually thought deeply about who you are and what you want to say. The essays that don't do so well are the ones that just feel like a summary of everything else that we've already read, and that's not what the space is for. But what we do love to see is growth and future vision. I think a great idea would be almost like a coming of age story. You could tell me who you used to be, who you are now, and then tell me who you're working to become. And that story arc is really compelling when a student tells it honestly. It shows self awareness, it shows direction, and it makes us feel, as readers, it makes us feel like we actually know you, which is the whole point.
Well, I love the coming of age example. Tell us who you were, who you are, and who you hope to become. I think that's great. And Brita, the why this college essay can also be challenging for so many students. What separates a thoughtful why Howard response from one that simply lists programs, traditions, or facts found on the website? And how important is it for students to demonstrate an authentic connection to Howard's mission, community, and your awesome opportunities?
I'd say intention is really the heart of it. We can tell when someone just Googled Howard University facts and then dropped them into a paragraph. Mentioning the yard, homecoming, and a program name doesn't make it a Why Howard essay. That's just information that was already on our website. And we know that not every student has had the opportunity to visit our campus or to interact with Howard directly. Maybe you're on the other side of the country or something like that. And we understand, but you don't need that in order to write a great Why Howard story. We want your take on what Howard is to you, our history, our impact, what we stand for, and why that specifically connects to who you are and what you're trying to build. A student who's done that work and can articulate a real drive to contribute to this legacy is who comes up with a great Why Howard story.
Fantastic. And Bree, families sometimes believe students need an impressive list of activities to stand out. What types of involvement, leadership, service, or experiences genuinely demonstrate a student's character and potential to contribute to Howard's community?
I will say we do love to see student body presidents, vice presidents, founders, community leaders, organizational leaders, all of that stuff. So that kind of formal leadership is something that we do value and we do appreciate. So yes, the resume does matter and students should put their best foot forward with it. However, the concept of depth over breadth is a principle worth holding on to. A student who spent years working and committed to something, growing in responsibility and making an impact over time tells us a lot more than a student with a long list of activities that never went anywhere. And it's not only about leadership titles. We also love to see students who are actively investing in their own development, doing things like summer programs, internships, jobs, experiences that show that you're taking your future seriously. The question we're ultimately asking underneath all of this is, how did you use your gifts to do something beyond yourself? And what will you bring to the Howard community when you do get here? That's what we're really trying to gauge.
Well, we appreciate that. You're definitely trying to gauge the type of community member that they're going to be, the type of roommate they're going to be, the type of classmate they're going to be, and frankly, how are they going to contribute to the awesome Howard University community. So we appreciate that insight. And recommendation letters, of course, are another important part of the process. Brie, what would you say the strongest ones reveal about a student that may not appear elsewhere in the overall application?
Yes. So recommendation letters do matter, and they're most valuable when they give us something that the transcript and the essay didn't exactly give. The strongest letters come from teachers and counselors who truly know a student as a person, not just a name on a grade book or an attendance sheet. A letter that says she was an excellent student who earned an A in my class. That's appreciated, but it doesn't really move the needle for us. The letters that really stand out give us more texture. Like, how does this student engage in discussion? How do they handle difficulty? What is their character when things get hard? What did this student do that surprised you in a meaningful way? So, if students have a choice in who they ask, my advice is to choose the person who actually has seen you grow, who can speak to who you are beyond your performance. That's the letter that completes the full picture for your application.
Hey, podcast friends, if you've been enjoying the College Admissions Process podcast, I'm excited to share my new book, Straight from the Admissions Office Insider Strategies for College Applications. It's packed with insights and tips from over 250 podcast episodes with admissions professionals designed to make the college process less overwhelming. Whether you're a student, parent, or college counselor, it's a valuable resource for navigating the admissions process. By grabbing a copy, you're also helping to support the podcast. The links are in the show notes. Thank you, and best wishes to all with the college admissions process. And I appreciate you sharing the context of a teacher perhaps saying that this is an excellent student who got an A in my class. Clearly, that A for, let's say it's an English class, is visible on a transcript. So, although that letter is positive in nature, it's not really adding too much in the overall application because it's repeating information that's easily seen on the transcript. And of course, Howard has made changes, Bree, over time regarding standardized testing policies. How are test scores currently considered in the admissions process, and what guidance would you give students deciding whether to submit their scores or not?
Yeah, this can vary among institutions, but for Howard in the 26-27 admission cycle, Howard is test optional. SAT and ACT scores are not required to complete an application or to receive an admissions decision, and a student who does not submit test scores is not disadvantaged in our review. I will note that there are some programs like our dual degree programs, the BSMD, the BAJD programs, among others. Those do require test scores for eligibility. But overall, my advice for students is to submit your scores if you think that they're a genuine asset to your application. If they reflect your abilities well and add to what we already know about you, then include them. If they don't represent you accurately, you don't need to feel pressured. But what I would caution against is spending so much energy chasing a test score that you neglect all the other parts of your application you have the most control over, like your essays, your senior year performance, and the relationships with your teachers who are going to write on your behalf. Those things matter a whole lot more.
Well, we appreciate that. And Bree, sometimes students face circumstances that impact their grades, activities, or even their opportunities overall. How can students effectively use, and we've talked about this before, how can they effectively use the additional information section of the Common Application to provide context, again, without repeating what's on their essay or other parts of the overall application?
Yeah, so the additional information section is really for context, not content. It's not a second essay, and it's not the place to add things that you've already covered elsewhere. It exists for circumstances that affected a student's academic record or opportunities in ways that aren't explained anywhere else in your application. You can think something like a medical situation that disrupted your school year, a family responsibility that made certain activities harder to pursue. Maybe your high school didn't offer certain courses, or there was a shift in your transcript that has a real valid explanation behind it. Those are the things that belong in the additional information section. And then, if nothing in your application really needs that context, you don't need to fill it in. You can leave it blank, and that's not a red flag or anything. But when something in your record does need an explanation, just make sure to use this section clearly and concisely.
Well, I love the advice and particularly the examples that you shared. So, students, again, if there's something that needs a little extra explaining, it's definitely a great place to explain it, or otherwise, you're leaving it up to admissions representatives to speculate as to why something may have happened. But as Bree said, if you don't feel that you need to use it, you're definitely not obligated to do so. Now, Bree, artificial intelligence is becoming part of students' daily lives, obviously, and adults, by the way. How is Howard thinking about AI in the admissions process, particularly when reviewing essays and understanding a student's authentic voice?
That is a great question. What I can tell you is that we're always looking for exactly that, the student's authentic voice. AI generated writing tends to be pretty recognizable, not because of some sophisticated detection tool, but really because it lacks experience. AI writes about things generally, but we want to know about you. That's the whole point of the essay. And there's no AI that can tell your story for a college application. Only you can.
Well, we appreciate that. And again, we hear it time and time again on all the podcast episodes. Students, they're really looking for your authentic voice. I'm sure Bree reads 40 to 50 essays a day when she's in the heart of application review. And she could tell the difference when it's a 17-year-old writing it, AI, or someone that sounds like a 42-year-old attorney, which might be your mom or your dad, right? So make sure you're not using AI and that your authentic voice is definitely coming through. Now, Bree, what is one misconception students or families have about Howard or about HBCUs in general that you'd like to explain to us now?
Yeah, this one's really important to me. So, what I really want to address is the idea that HBCUs don't prepare you for the real world. That's something that I've heard around, and it couldn't be further from the truth. I think it stems from a broader misunderstanding of what these schools actually produce. Howard graduates are leading federal agencies, running major companies, practicing medicine and law at the highest levels, shaping policy and writing literature that informs the world. We have Kamala Harris, who is a Howard alum. We have Thurgood Marshall, who's a Howard alum. Chadwick Boseman, Toni Morrison, Felicia Rashad, so many people. And those people are not ones who are unprepared. They're people who change the world, literally. And again, Howard is an R1 research institution, the only HBCU in America to hold that designation. Our curriculum is rigorous, our faculty are world class, and our alumni network is one of the most powerful professional communities in existence. The real world is full of Howard graduates at the very top of it, and the data simply does not support that misconception.
Well, that's great. I'm so glad that you said that. And this has truly been an awesome conversation. I'm so grateful to have you here. And we're getting close to the end. And I always like to ask before I end, is there a question that I didn't ask you today that you wish I had, or perhaps a topic that just didn't come up in the conversation that you'd like to share with our listeners now?
Yeah, I want to highlight scholarships and specifically external scholarships. I need students and families to listen very closely. You need to apply for as many external scholarships as you possibly can and apply as often as you can. There are thousands of scholarships out there through Fortune 500 companies, local government organizations, community organizations, and so many more. And many of them go unclaimed every year simply because not enough students apply. I can tell you a little case study. A friend of mine applied to scholarships for students who were left handed. He was not left handed and he applied anyway. And his essay was about how he would vow to become ambidextrous if awarded this scholarship. And ultimately, he was awarded double the scholarship because of one, his creativity, and two, because not enough people applied. So the more you apply to, the more you are likely to receive. Don't self select out. Don't assume that you won't qualify. Just apply because the scholarship money is out there, and students who are proactive and persistent about pursuing it can make a really big difference in how they fund their education. So start early, stay organized, and then keep a running list so that you can follow up if you need to.
Well, that's such great advice. And today, with the use of AI and the internet, it's easier to find scholarship opportunities by doing simple searches and doing a deep dive on the internet. So, great advice to definitely look for those scholarship opportunities and definitely apply. Every time you don't apply, it's an automatic no. But hey, if you do go for it, you just never know. And it could save you and your family lots of money in the long term. Bree, this was phenomenal as I knew it would be. Unfortunately, it does lead us to that last question. And you've already given so much, but what are your top three pieces of advice for students and their families getting ready for the college admissions process?
Yes. So, first, market yourself well and don't be afraid to brag a little bit. This is not the time to be modest. You guys have worked hard for years, and the application is your opportunity to showcase everything that you've built. Put your best foot forward in every section, be proud of what you've accomplished, and be specific about it and own it. Admissions officers cannot advocate for students that they don't know well, so make sure that we know you. The second one, give your essays the time that they deserve. Your transcript takes 4 years to build, so your essay can feel like an afterthought if you let it. Start early. Ideally, over the summer before your senior year is a good time. You should write multiple drafts and get honest feedback from people who will tell you the truth. This is the one place in your application where your voice is entirely your own, so you should protect that opportunity and use it well. And then my third, don't tie your self worth to your admissions outcomes. The college admissions process can feel really scary, and a rejection letter can feel really personal, but it's not a measure of your intelligence, your potential, or your future. And admissions decisions are shaped by so many factors. It could be class size, institutional priorities, even the timing of when you apply. And it's not a label about who you are. Just do the work, put your best foot forward, and trust that the right environment is going to recognize what you bring to the table.
Well, Bree, thank you so much. Those are tremendous pieces of advice. And as I knew, this was a phenomenal conversation. I'm so glad that I had you on, as I know that this is going to help so many students and their families navigate the process. I do hope to have you again in the future, Bree. You were awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
It was an honor and a pleasure. And to everyone out there, good luck with the college search. Take care, all, and best wishes. Thank you for joining us on this episode of The CAP, the College Admissions Process Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please don't forget to tell a friend and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and wherever you listen to your podcast. I am your host, John Durante, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of The CAP. Thank you for listening to the College Admissions Process Podcast presented by Prep Expert. Prep Expert offers live online SAT and ACT courses with the best score guarantees, instructors, and curriculum. Go to prepexpert.com to guarantee your child's success.